Now, the first reviews for the sequel to Joker are coming out, and critics are definitely not being super charitable to it. A lot of them have negative things to say, and they've taken a big creative turn making this into a musical and not fully owning the fact that they're making it a musical.
That seems to be what the number one criticism I seem to see was that they're saying they do it, but Todd Phillips doesn't commit to the fact that it's a musical.
Yeah, and it's not just Joaquin Phoenix on the title card, it's Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix. And a big focus on Harley Quinn in this one, but she's written an entirely different way from previous iterations of Harley Quinn.
I do want to point out before we get started, this isn't actually all that different from the critic reviews of the original, which was it came in at 60% for Joker 2. The original Joker came in at 69%. Now, the difference here is that when Joker came out, the media was having a field day. It's going to cause mass riots, and the incels are going to rise up. It's going to cause problems, right? Yeah. And the media was all over this movie as some type of awful...
It's like a referendum on incels or
this
something.
time around, it's getting magazine profiles, and the critics seemed all on board with the idea. They're like, well, they put Lady Gaga in it. How bad could it be? I think what really happened here is the critics bided their time, and they're like, we're going to shit on this thing again. We're not going to let you have another win.
They're relishing the opportunity. I'm looking, and it has a 60% from critics currently.
Yep.
And I'm looking at some of these reviews. One said, it begs the question, why is Todd Phillips so reluctant to embrace that this film is a musical? Why not add more color, some flourish to the production design?
I mean, color wouldn't have made any sense given the tone of the first one.
Well,
the dark, morose tone of the first one, color-wise, not just tone of the film, but the color palette of that film, it's dingy, and it fits the world of New York. Of Gotham.
Gotham, yeah.
But filmed in Europe.
Thank you.
I think it was filmed in New York.
Now we have some color. Another one said...
Gotham is not supposed to be colorful.
Right, no. Yeah. But if it's La La Land, but edgy, I would expect some more. But another one said, it's not that this version of the Joker is inherently wrong, but it's uninteresting. Please let us be done with this. Another one said, this is an overindulgent musical that lacks the punch of its predecessor. Another one, where the original Joker remains a stunning exception, that rare blockbuster with emotional shading, grown-up themes, and a genuine sense of grandeur. This sequel fails to stay on beat. Iffy bits of dialogue aren't able to be masked by the strength of the cast this time around, especially with a returning lead who appears to have slipped into eternal solace. I don't know what that means. These critics are so self-indulgent.
And verbose.
Yeah.
This newfound stylistic vigor helps extend the shelf life of Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, but by the time the end comes, this incarnation feels exhausted. Todd Phillips is just incapable of delivering the genre's requisite razzle-dazzle that would surely complement Joker's persona. It's startlingly dull, a pointless procedural that seems to disdain its audience. Part courtroom movie, part behind bars romance. This is an unconventional musical sequel that fails to hit high notes.
I'm getting Crow vibes already.
Is it Crow romance?
Crowmance.
Crowmance.
It's a crowmance. I just asked Twitter. I put up the Discussing Films article about this. This was when it was at 59%, so it went up by 1 percentage point. And I just asked, unbiased thoughts on what they think about that. And the general sentiment seems to be, I don't care what critics think anyways.
Yes.
Camelot says, haven't referred to critic reviews on a film or show since my early 20s. Carnell said, I'm thinking that I might just swear off watching sequels for at least a decade.
It's just the critic reviews this time around are more focused on the actual production and the writing,
not the supposedly
not the
evil
social messaging.
White men that are going to rise up because of this film.
Yeah, and I looked back at some of the negative reviews from critics on the original Joker, and they're stated much differently. One of them said, Joker is the worst kind of bad film. technically proficient and gorgeously presented falsehood, one that rejects responsibility as it strives to understand and empathize with the stereotypical white mass murderer.
Geez.
Another one said, the joke in both cases is that this director gets to disavow white male murderousness and claim credit for it. So they're all just raging against white incels in the negative reviews for the first one.
But now they don't have to do that because they put a girl on.
They put a girl on, and it's still not really getting great reviews. But at least this time around, they're focusing on the actual substance of the movie and not the political dressing around it.
Correct.
Another negative review on the original said the theatrical trailer for Joker, intriguing, suggested the best movie never made. The actual movie is a shallow effort that isn't about a raging bull as much as it's merely raging bullshit.
Yeah, you ever watch? Has there ever been a musical you've wanted to see?
La La Land.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I never watched it.
Okay.
But I wanted to at one point.
Well, this is supposed to be like the edgy emo version of La La Land.
And I thought it was always a musical. When I first heard about it coming out, I thought the guy said the
it is.
Phillips. Yeah.
This is when like Joker, the incel, finally finds his mentally ill BPD art ho GF.
Yep. Did you
And
see
they take
people,
on the world
did
together.
you see people saying that about like they need to send a pink-haired, a blue-haired girl after Barron Trump now that he's at NYU?
I know. I saw so many tweets about that.
Yeah.
They're like, he's going to be dressing like Ella Emhoff by the end of
geez.
next year. And I'm like, please stop. You're obsessed.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm excited to see this.
At the very least, to see them take the swing at it. I assume that I'm not going to like it because I don't like musicals. My one caveat was like the idea that I loved the idea that the only time they sang was when they were killing people, and I don't think that that's what they do in this film. I would have loved that.
That would be neat.
I would love that as a concept, but I don't think that that's what they're doing in this
Audiences don't
film.
like musicals. I think that's been well established by the fact that every time a new musical comes out, they try to mask the fact that it's a musical in the marketing, as they did heavily for the Mean Girls reboot, which was entirely musical.
And
they didn't even like put musical tracks in the trailer for that because people don't want to watch that shit.
I had no idea that was a musical.
Yeah, exactly. That's the point. That's the point, is deceiving the audience into going to see the movie when they don't want to see a freaking musical.
And the other elephant in the room,
them.
and the other elephant in the room here is the original film cost $55 million to make. This movie cost $200 million to make.
And for what?
And for what? To produce a musical.
Dance scenes.
Yes.
Choreography costs
It's expensive.
Some derivative BS that people are just far less interested in. I mean, maybe they should have rage baited with this one.
If the idea was that the first movie was going to uniquely attract white male incels, then they're like, how can we keep the white male incels out of the sequel? Well, what is the one movie type that no white male incel would ever want to go see? It would be a musical.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they're trying to hide the fact that it's a musical, but it's a weird choice. Definitely. And it alienates the people who made the first movie so popular.
Well, yeah. And again, like to me, whenever they bump the budget up that much by a film like this, then it immediately feels astroturfed and fake. Whereas like if you keep the budget close to the same, you don't have that feeling like suddenly I'm having this forced down my throat. Like in pro wrestling, right? Like nobody liked Roman Reigns when he was forced down your throat as a good guy. Everybody liked him once they started making him a bad guy. It's like, okay, now it's okay to like him because he's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. Like I like the movie being an underdog. I liked that the first film was an underdog that the media hated and that the studio had to like remember they had to like keep journalists out of showings for the original Joker because they were like bombarding the actors with impertinent questions about the social implications of the film, which had nothing to do with the movie. That gave people a desire to go see it because they're like, well, if the media hates it, there's at the very least something interesting about it.
Like there was something about the appeal of watching Sound of Freedom as well. The fact that the entire resounding opinion from the media was like, this is an evil QAnon conspiracy theory movie. You shouldn't go watch it and support it. That made a lot of people actually consider seeing it. after not going to the theaters for years.
If Todd Phillips was smart, he'd be right now. He'd be like, "Don't go see it. It's an alt-right Yahtzee movie. You're gonna leave."
Exactly. That's kind of the move now, is to make people feel like you did something transgressive, and they totally missed the mark with that, marketing wise. It might be good. We might be surprised.
I don't think that I'm going to like it. I'm open-minded to it, but it's got an uphill battle being a musical for
Definitely.
me. Far more than the first one did. Like it's got more ground to cover if it's going to let me leave the theater in a good mood. But
They've also just completely recreated who Harley Quinn is.
I'm happy to be wrong in that respect. So, and I don't think Lady Gaga is an awful actress.
I haven't seen her in anything, actually.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.